And let's go right into it. So my first question for today is, what's trending in the luxury market? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Terry, if you'd like to go ahead and answer.
So what I'm seeing trending is, with the COVID, a lot of people are coming from New York. They may already own second homes, and they're becoming like co-primary homes. The other thing that we're seeing is, when they move into that condo, that's their second home. Now they realize, well, you know what? I want to stay in South Florida. I want to upgrade. So they're selling that property, buying something that fits more their needs, looking for that quiet space to have an office, more green space, and take advantage of the South Florida living.
Right. And Tom.
Yeah, definitely with COVID, people are moving who have official remote worker status. So they are buying luxury properties and living there and working from there, even though their job is nowhere in our county. Another interesting thing I noticed was that some of these people are buying, like in our case, it's oceanfront properties that are not deed restricted, that are either currently running Airbnb businesses or they want to open an Airbnb business. So essentially, the property is generating a lot of income, but they themselves would just take a slot themselves in between. One of the oceanfront houses that I had listed was making like $180,000 a year just on Airbnb, but it was also their own vacation rental whenever they wanted it. I thought that was interesting, and a lot of the prospective buyers fully got that this is their vacation rental that has massive cash flow instead of just being an expense.
Awesome. And Linda.
Well, here in the Clearwater area, we're seeing similar transitions. They want to work, live, and play down in Florida. So they're coming from cooler northern communities where they want more of a lifestyle. So they're working in the home. So they're coming down saying, if I'm going to work out of my house, I'm going to want the warm weather, the sunshine. So we are seeing full-time residents, larger square footages. Home offices are really important right now. I see a lot of 1-2 home office needs and outdoor living space. They want the pools. They want the beaches nearby. A lot of them are second home buyers too. They have the funds right now. They're coming in and buying properties that they can stay where they're at in some cases because they have to go back and forth and we don't know what the future holds. But the second homes are very strong right now.
Brian, I want to add one more thing. Another interesting thing that I've seen since I've been doing this for like 32 years, we're seeing millennials and younger baby boomers making their move 3-5 years in advance because of the low interest rates and the COVID keeping them locked up, wanting to have that second home. I'm seeing it being accelerated.
Good point.
So look for those millennials making good money. They're looking for second homes.
You know, I have another question that I want to throw out to you guys, and I probably should have started with this. Terry, I told everybody your Terry story, but who are you? Where are you from?
Well, I'm originally from Miami. I've been in Boca Raton now for 32 years. I've been in real estate for 32 years. I'm in the East Boca office of Keller Williams.
Okay, great. And Tom, where are you from?
I'm in the Melbourne area. I cover Brevard County. That's the Space Coast, and I'm at Keller Williams Brevard.
Great. And Linda is in Clearwater, right?
Yes, I'm Linda Caruso with the Clearwater Keller Williams office, and we cover the Tampa, Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Pasco County areas. And I have been with Keller Williams for 20 years, and in this area for 28 years.
Awesome. So the next question I have for you guys is going to be, what is your go-to marketing tool and why? We'll start with you. We'll just keep the rotation going through you first.
So as far as the go-to luxury tool, I mean, obviously the luxury logo is really important. The badges, the for sale signs, I think they're beautiful. It stands out and differentiates the properties because I do sell both luxury and non-luxury. I'm able to share with people that I participate in a monthly mastermind, which I think is really important to share, that we are a family of 180,000 agent, and we have this boutique opportunity within Keller Williams. And we mastermind amongst the best across the country, which also creates referral network business. And I think that's an important, if you will, tool. And in Luxury Hub, there's so many tools. Quite frankly, I haven't taken advantage of them yet, just because I haven't had the time to. That properties are selling before I can even create a brochure. But there's beautiful, beautiful collateral in there.
Right. Yeah, I remember Mark had on a guest recently, and they did that big, huge book, and they didn't even get to put it out before the listing was gone. Tom.
So a couple of things that I are kind of my go-to. One of them has been the Domain magazine, which is now the Keller Williams Luxury magazine. I find that's a very good value for the money that it costs. I get a full page ad for around $800. And then you get 100 of them are mailed out to your mailing list. And then you get 25 paper copies. I've found that to be very worthwhile, not necessarily to sell the listing, because usually the listing is sold by the time you even get your magazines. But just as I've developed a stack, and I can come into a listing presentation with 5, 6, 7, 8 of these magazines, and it can make a very powerful impression on somebody seeing all of the previous luxury properties that I've sold together with those other magazines. I also have noticed that a lot of other luxury agents in our county don't do full videos for the properties, and I do a full video for every luxury property. My photographer does a great job at putting together about a 1 to 2 minute video with music and really neat looking, different for every property. And I'm just surprised other luxury agents aren't doing it, because that's collateral that I can use. A lot of the collateral I get, I want to be able to use it for years after the property has sold, because it just builds on that brand of luxury. I also got my own Matterport camera about 4 years ago. So I do my own Matterports. So I have those as a part of my own subscription. And so I can use the virtual 3D tour of the property for years afterwards. And so I have a collection of all of the houses that I've done through the years.
And do you do that yourself, or do you have somebody on your team do that?
I started doing it myself years ago, and then I have my son doing it. I pay him $100 to do the Matterport.
That can take some time. All right, and Miss Linda.
So Keller Williams has designed an amazing marketing tool chest for us. And many people on this call are new to luxury or want to branch into it. So my suggestion is to go into Command Designs, see what you have at your fingertips, the Michael Lewis marketing materials, so easy to use, and they're free to upload a lot of these different tools. I think one thing to look at too is we are the marketing tool. And we have our own personal branding, and how we conduct ourselves out in the marketplace, that's marketing. That's a tool. And the more you can invest in yourself, and of course your logo, your marketing pieces, you'll stand out among the crowd. So I think there's so much benefit that KW has to offer as far as the toolbox. And the more we dig into it, the more we're inspired and being able to use those items with our own marketing person. It's an inspiration, and it's a starting point.
So both you and Terry had somewhat similar answers when it came down to kind of like the logo. Is that logo really important? I mean, for the luxury clientele, do they look for that? Go ahead, Tom.
So yeah, I was at a listing presentation together with another very good agent, but he had never sold in that price range before. And the client had her estate attorney was saying, you need to go with an agent that sells luxury. And this agent had done business with this client. And when I came in, not only did I have all of the, the luxury magazines to show I've done this a lot, but I also had my name badge that has the luxury logo on it, the gold badge. And it was amazing to see. This was a $1.6 million listing. She looks over at the luxury badge, and I could see that, okay, good, because she wanted to work with her agent that she already liked, but she needed to be able to argue back to the attorney that, no, these guys do luxury. And the badge was a credibility for her.
Nice. That's a great story. You guys have anything you want to add to that as far as luxury
Yes.
logo?
Yeah, I think it's really important to carry the luxury logo, but I also, like Linda said, you need to conduct yourself and present yourself as a luxury agent. And the way you dress, the way you talk, you're seen literally everywhere, not only by our colleagues within the industry, but outside in public. And all of it, I believe in branding in a big way. So I have my own logos, I have my own websites, and all of that's to establish myself as that luxury agent, because a lot of agents don't invest in their own branding. And that, I think, it's a big differential between luxury agents, high producing agents versus other agents.
I hear Gary all the time say that you are the brand. It's the Keller Williams logo's there, and he could care less if it's honestly there. You're the brand, but we do have to put the KW on there. So at least you've got the logo. All right. So the next question, go ahead.
Can I ask you a quick question, Terry? We were just fortunate enough to take a luxury listing the other night. Equestrian Estate in Wellington, $4.2 million. We're toying with possibly building a website specifically for that property. What are your thoughts about doing that versus a YouTube channel? Is the website more powerful, and have you done that?
Yes, I have, and I would do it all because it might take some time. And like Tom had said, you get to keep this material. So I've built little websites. And you know what, quite frankly, I don't know that anyone's going to find that website all on its own. What you're doing is you're giving somebody the address, and then it looks bigger than what it really is, that it has its own website. So that's an excellent tool. And thank you for reminding of that, because that is one of our tools that we have in our tool chest that we don't always.
So through Command, okay,
Mhm.
Can we use, because I took this listing with another agent, can we do it through Command where when they click on that link, it goes directly to that website versus our website?
I'll let a tech person answer that one. I don't know.
So we have the ability to build standalone sites. They're not full blown sites. They're just a single page site. So you can build your own website around that property. Yes. And then you can take like 123 Main Street and point it right at that link that's on there. So you could create your own property website, and it's going to cost you probably about $12 is what most of the websites charge you to get that domain name. And so $12 is nothing. Point it right at that. Point it at that single property website. And we have that in a class a little bit later today. So if you take a look at the flyer that we put out that shows the class times, there's one about web apps and sites that's near the end. So we'll be teaching that around 3 o'clock, I believe it is today.
Thank you.
And George, if you are permitted to have signage in that community, have a personal writer create it with the website. So if you have traffic, they're going to see that when they're in front of the house.
Definitely.
You know what's another real cool tool is just like a little business card that is a summary of the property that has that link that you can give people. Because if you're out and about, you're not going to whip out your big flyer and say, hey, look at this property. But just a little card, business size card that you can make that says a little bit, something about the property, and then that link that you just mentioned.
It's a good idea. So now I've got the mother of all questions. Every time I go to a luxury call, I get this question all the time. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never, ever heard anybody answer it really, really well. So we'll see how you guys can do. How do you break into luxury? How do you get the luxury clientele? Go ahead, Tom.
So when I look back at like the first luxury listing that I got, and then the second and some of the other ones, it was always connected to networking. I've gone to a lot of networking meetings through the years. I used to be a member of Business Network International, BNI. I'm a member of the Chamber Referral Networks, where we meet regularly. I joined a group that focuses on seniors. That's a local group here. And I end up meeting like estate planning attorneys, real estate attorneys. One guy that I met many years ago, he his business hadn't boomed yet. I met him 20 years ago. Well, 20 years later, he had sold his business for $21 million, and he bought a house at 1.5 million cash because he had sold his business, and this was a second home. So, and I look back, it was networking. In fact, some of the deals were agent referrals, but I had kept in good touch with a lady who's a property manager, doesn't sell houses. One of her clients was selling a luxury home. That was actually my first luxury home. So it's always back to networking. And then, of course, making a good impression that they believe that you are professional enough to handle, larger properties.
So Tom, if I go to these networking events, what really helps me get, I mean, you said talking to lawyers and stuff, but what should I be talking to them about to get in business with them? Because I know for me, going into a lot of different networking events in the past, just because you're in that group doesn't always translate into you getting the business.
Yeah. So my goal with going to a networking group is you got to remember that pretty much everyone there has a realtor. They've got a realtor that's in place number one. So your goal isn't to bump that realtor instantly and become their realtor. Your goal is to be second in line and just keep going and meeting people and hope that I can make a good enough impression that I might be in second in line. Eventually, realtor number one is going to screw up for somebody. And that means I might get a shot at it. And you got to remember, a lot of the very wealthy people, they're not going to give you the expensive house to sell right off the bat. So it might be someone who's clearly wealthy and they offer you $100,000 property to sell. And it might be like, well, I wanted to sell the expensive properties, but you got to remember, they might be testing you out. So if you do just a stellar job on the smaller things and the referrals they give you, eventually you might be the one that gets to do the bigger stuff.
So to add to that, I'd probably say you just need to go into those groups with a servant's heart. If you just be a servant there, they'll pick up on that and they'll see that you're the right person for them once the other agent messes up.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot because most of them don't even follow up with their clients, right? So if they're not following up with their clients, they're probably not following up with their referrals. All right, Terry, you had your hand up next. You were jumping in line. So what's your answer to that? How do you get your clients?
So you have to, like he said, networking is one place, but if you were, I'm going to give you an example. If you work out at UFit and pay $10 a month to be a member there, it's time to up your game and go to a boutique, higher end priced gym. You're going to surround yourself by people that, quite frankly, own luxury homes. Same with, if you have a passion for tennis, join a tennis team. Nonprofit organizations, you find a lot of wealthy people that have a lot of time on their hands and they participate and work with nonprofits. So things like that are very important. People won't work with you unless they know, like, and trust you. So get yourself involved in organizations, affiliations that you personally enjoy. And then once you're there, real estate topic always comes up. Be the expert of the economy, the market, what's going on, and be able to answer the very simple questions. How many homes are on the market? How many homes have come off? What's the average days on market? When you know all of this information, which the average agent does not, you're going to automatically elevate yourself to a higher level. So just know what's going on in the marketplace. Be a study of the market.
So in that boutique gym working out, do I just walk up to people and start talking real estate to them?
No, you pull up in your golf cart like I do, that's all branded, and it kind of subtly says who I am. And they'll eventually, if they like you, they'll ask you. And I've gotten business. I mean, I just joined a gym a year ago, and I didn't let anyone know who I was, but a lot of people know once they knew my last name, they knew who I was. And I let them come to me versus me going to them. And it's a simple conversation. Hey, what do you do? And then that conversation will eventually turn into, oh, by the way, what do you do?
Absolutely. And that you said something really key there about the branding. That is so important. It's so subtle, yet very effective.
They have baseball hats. I mean, just be yourself, something a little subtle. It works. They'll ask.
Don't spend all your time on figuring out a brand. Maybe hire somebody to do that for you. Because some people spend too much time figuring out a brand and not enough time in real estate. But brands are important. So don't just grab one and go. Like I was just complimenting before we came on here, Terry's, because it's simple and it tells the story.
No
Not
pun
to play on the word
intended.
story. All right, Linda.
Well, I totally agree with Terry and Tom, and I feel as though, this happens organically as well. The bigger the net you put out there, the more people you're going to meet, and through people, you're gonna meet people that have the luxury listings and opportunities for you. I've met people through activities that I enjoy, like Terry said, and through my children, through our church, through our love for boating. And we're meeting people because they see the value that we bring to the table when we start talking about real estate. And I think, as Ryan, you said, it's about earning the trust. And once you earn the trust from the right people, it will organically grow. There's your doctors, your financial advisors, and your net being thrown out there pretty extensively. You're going to have opportunities brought to you. And sometimes you just have to ask for the business. If you're sitting there talking to the doctor, get into real estate. Where do you live? What do you do? Do you have a realtor that you use?
I think that's a great point. Ask for the business, because we forget to do that sometimes. All right, great. Good answer to the questions. I really appreciate you guys answering that, because that's probably the best answer I've seen in any panel yet. We didn't just say, oh yeah, we just kind of meet people. Does anybody have any questions? Because I know that every panel I've ever watched has been really better on those. Is there any questions you guys want to expand around that? That's probably the biggest question.
I actually have a question. Terry, when you mentioned the signs, do you use separate signs when you have, your luxury listing versus your regular listings?
Yes, I use the luxury Keller Williams sign.
Okay. I had other questions. I've been writing them down.
Can I, Terry, just a quick question. You brought up that I guess you letter up your golf cart. As a luxury agent, do you actually letter up your car as well?
No.
It's too tacky, right?
Yeah.
See,
Golf cart's cool. It's
Golf
a
cart's cool.
6-passenger golf cart, and it looks really cool. And it's got the Keller Williams colors, and it's blinged out.
Yeah.
I'm noticed.
It's a write-off. That sounds like a write-off.
And it's a write-off. And the very first passenger I put in it bought a house, so it paid for itself.
Nice.
and as a luxury agent, my wife's on the call. As a luxury agent, I will tell you this has happened to us, that the clients are watching what you drive. We actually had a client that walked over to us and, said goodbye and looks in your car and sees if your car is clean, stuff like that. They are looking.
It's a very good point. Thank you, George. All right, next. Terry, how do you farm for luxury? Or do you farm for luxury?
Yeah, well, I do farm for luxury, and like Linda's used the keyword organic. I started at lower price ranges, and those clients moved into other neighborhoods. And once I sold a luxury listing, I started farming that neighborhood. So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and I have an advantage over a lot of people. I've been doing this for 32 years, so it's a lot easier for me now than it was when I first started in the business. But you can be intentional and start farming, but it really does take that first opportunity to get into a luxury neighborhood and then work around it. Do like a 7-level open house, invite the neighbors, have a wine and cheese, do the open house at 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. So there's ways to get yourself in that neighborhood. And once you're in there, just keep fostering it and growing it. It's like planting seeds and watering it.
You said something key there that kind of made me think. When you're doing your open houses, is there a different, so I'm adding to this question, is there a difference in the open house, what you serve at the open house? Like if I serve cookies at my open houses, does it matter if I serve wine and cheese at those?
Yes, I do treat them differently. For example, well, since COVID, things have changed a lot, but a lot of the luxury, I would do a catered brokers open. And the reason for that is to also invite all the neighbors, because the agents are going to come naturally. You invite them. It presents yourself as a luxury agent to the other agents. It makes the seller feel special. At a regular open house, let's say, and it would just be, water and cookies versus wine and cheese.
Okay.
And inviting the neighbors, that's the key.
Mm-hmm. They might know somebody wants to move in the neighborhood.
That's right.
Tom,
And you're getting your name out there, and it's like, oh, wow, when was the last time, you went to an open house with wine and cheese?
do you farm?
So I don't farm a specific area consistently. I've typically farmed in conjunction with trying to take any luxury listing and hopefully have it lead to something else, another listing in the same neighborhood. So I'll basically try to capitalize on the listing. And I usually create a specific marketing strategy for each listing, depending on what it is. So I had a horse property where it was 15 acres with 6 horse stalls. So I went and literally joined every group on Facebook that every equestrian group that I could get on Facebook, and just was, you can't typically advertise on those, but I could kind of see who's into horses. If it was a property where it had a boat, you could focus on boaters. So I put together a marketing strategy for each one. And then certain neighborhoods, a lot of the neighborhoods, the deed restricted neighborhoods, are gated. You can't do open houses. So you could do a broker open on some of those. One of the things I did to try to get attendance on a broker open was I had a competition. We had ordered in sushi. I did a competition where I was going to give $500 to the agent that guesses what the property will actually close at. And all of the agents had to put their opinion of the price in on a piece of paper at the broker open. And the one that was the closest got $500 from me. Well, the reason I did that was to show the owner what the agents thought the house was worth, because I actually could show a whole span. And somebody obviously won it in the end, but I thought it was kind of a fun way to boost attendance and also show the owner what all the agents think the house is worth.
Was that worth you 500?
Well, we sold it and it was a very expensive house. So yeah, I guess.
Linda, how about you? Do you farm?
Yes, absolutely. Been farming all my career, and what I have been doing is just raising the price points as I've been going along. And I want all those that are new to the luxury or entering, don't have limited thinking that where you're farming, the people may know that you're new to this, because I think we all get a little hung up on the fear of it. So be consistent if you're farming, be involved, network with the community. If you're in the community, if you're living there, host the events. And be on the board if you need to do that, but connect with the people. Let them know that you're real, you're just not a realtor, that you have family, that you have interests. I think that's so important to, as you said again, Ryan, be a part of something, give. And when you give into a community, you typically will receive. And you do it long enough, and I was called it was pretty funny, I had a listing appointment in an area that I do farm, a local celebrity. That just meant that I am constantly marketing that community, that they know my face, they know what I do, and they know that I've contributed. What we're doing right now that's very exciting is we're creating within our own team luxury and farm areas for our own agents. So I have my particular neighborhoods, and we're branching out. We're branching out to the beaches. We're branching out to gated communities that our agents live in, and marketing the agent and myself, and using that luxury opportunity to connect with those people. What we have going on right now is one of our buyer agents is going to host a community event, and we're going to have a music. We're going to have a truck come in with egg roll sushi and a bouncy house for the kids and so forth. So it's more or less spidering out. I have my particular areas that I've always marketed. Let's get the agents on the team out there and start giving them opportunities that bring us luxury opportunities as well.
So where's that at? All right. Just breathe on us.
Yeah.
All right. So she said something there that kind of reminded me of one of my favorite phrases. Comes from a really smart guy. Says, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And I've kind of always thought about that in business. Yes, Tom.
So another thing about farming is, in some cases when I would do the luxury magazine, and you send them 100 addresses that they mail the magazines to, normally I would do it to my top 100 people, the people that I want to be in front of, that I'm just hoping that ends up on the coffee table and doesn't get thrown away, and they just to make a good impression on my top 100 people. But in some cases, I would actually just change out my address list to that subdivision, the luxury subdivision. And so it might be 150 people in this subdivision. Well, 100 of them got my magazine and they could see their neighbor's house in there. So it was kind of a farming that was just included in what I was going to do anyway with this magazine. I mean, the shipping and all of that was all included in the price.
That's right. The next question I have for you guys kind of falls into what we were just talking about when it comes to serving others. It's, do you have vendors that you have that are specifically catering to luxury? And how do you leverage them? Terry?
Well, when it comes to vendors, you know, a lot of the vendors that I use, a lot of them already do the luxury properties. So when it comes to, I have a stager that stages at a high level. I have a photographer. Tom mentioned a video photographer. I use all of that. I don't know what other vendors.
Does your photographer though only do luxury, and do you use a different photographer for your non-luxury?
No, I don't have a separate person yet. My luxury is what I call affordable luxury, so it's under 3 million. You know, I've done what Tom has done. I've done the music and the talkovers and all of that, but I haven't elevated beyond that.
How about when it comes to staging? I mean, do you have a
for staging? Yeah, well, for staging, and really it's a matter of how it's conducted. So when I bring in a stager, I will pay for the first hour of consultation. And if it requires, you know, a lot more than that, that's the seller will pay to have that person work along the side. It depends on what they need. The rest of the stagers on lower price properties, quite frankly, I can do it myself, but it just sounds fancier if I bring in my stager and tell them. I'm not talking about bringing in furniture. I'm just talking about sometimes it's a matter of just prepping the house. You know, a lot of these luxury properties have a really heavy Mediterranean feel to them, and they've got these beautiful silk drapes that got to go because it's not what today's consumers are looking for. So it's easier for me to have that stager come in alongside with me and say, this is what we need to get that top dollar, because that's what they want to hear. They want to know that they can get top dollar. And a lot of them just jump right in. They're like, fantastic. And they will listen to her more than they will listen to me. And that I find very effective, working alongside with somebody.
Do you have any other vendors, maybe appliance repair person or anything like that that's up on the luxury end?
So what I can say about that, a lot of my plumbers that I use are already in the luxury. A lot of them, for example, I have a plumber. Well, he happens to also be a builder, so he builds luxury homes. So I already know I have a luxury plumber. So I don't know when it comes to plumbing that there's anything more luxury about fixing someone's toilet in a poor man's house versus a rich man's house. Maybe they put their booties on, you tell them to put on the booties or something, or wear a clean shirt. But other than that, I don't know that there's much difference. Except to tell them that, hey, this is my guy.
Right.
They'll take good care of you.
You got anything to say around any of the luxury vendors that you use?
One of the strategies I've found in the case of a house, it's a luxury house, but it might be that it hasn't really been updated since it was built in the 90s. And so that if my vendor would come in and actually give real full-fledged quotes on exactly what they would charge to replace this what they would charge to replace this, so that when it came time for, people come in the door and they're like questioning that, a buyer's always going to exaggerate how much things are going to cost, and they're just going to throw out some crazy number, that they could actually see a real quote available to them at the showing, that if you would want this replaced, like this is a quote from one of a very good local contractor. And so that's another asset where the contractor being willing to write the quotes actually helps the sale of the property.
I guess Linda, maybe there she is. All right, so Linda, do you have any luxury vendors that you work with?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost connection there for a minute. So yes, we really take advantage of our stagers, and we bring them in the beginning for our consultation with the client, and then we will pay for that. Then if the client wants to continue using them for decorating, bringing items in, using their current furniture, or the people for stager is there, and she is going through the house making sure that everything's ready to go and it shows as beautifully as it can. And so we utilize that quite often. I just think just your trusted vendors, once you have a relationship with these people, they are going to take care of you. And I know that many times, and this is for all of our properties, I was on the phone last night with a vendor for plumbing and another one home inspector. And this was 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, because I was handling another deal, and they picked up for me at that point. So I think having the vendors and utilizing their services and treating them respectfully, so that when you call at 8:45 at night, they pick up because they know that you need something.
I think what I was thinking along the lines when I was thinking of this question is that there's different materials in a house. And it's kind of like another question I had prepared for you guys about the different materials in a home. So we were talking about toilets. It was nuts. So, I mean, you do have the bidets and stuff like that, but I was more thinking along the lines of the appliances. So you have like the Viking ranges and stuff, the Sub-Zero refrigerators, and not all appliance people that come and repair those are going to be equal, because if you have somebody that's coming in and just fixing your normal Samsung refrigerator, they may not know anything about those other ones. Also, the flooring in the house is going to be a more luxury type of flooring, or what else did I have on there? Just even the pavers outside by the pool could be different. So you guys have anybody that is your go-to vendors on that give it more of a luxury feel that you maybe wouldn't do that with a non-luxury client?
I would say yes to that. A lot of what I do is I have, and again, it comes down to relationships. I have relationships with luxury builders. And when I need something that I don't know the answer to, I go to them and say, hey, who do you use for your plumbing? And they'll recommend a specific store, send them to Ferguson, send them to, so they'll give me those places. And an interior designer, decorator, they know as well. So lean on them.
Kind of sounds like you guys are saying your interior designers are your secret weapons right there, your stagers.
Right.
Mhm.
All right. So next question. How can you I've already heard you kind of talk about this, Tom, but how can you leverage a luxury property into more luxury business?
One of the things I do is I'll do a landing page where it's attempting to capture leads. And when you have a luxury property, you will get people who they're not looking to buy a property and they couldn't afford that property. They're just clicking on it because of the pretty pictures. But there actually are some of them that are interested in that price point of a property. But at the end of the day, you're boosting your database with people that have opted in to be contacted. So you just have people that you can contact. So making a landing page and driving a lot of traffic to it is good. I also will take my videos of the properties and boost them. So in some cases, my video has 6,000 views because I boosted it, and it's a nice looking video. And that in itself, yes, it might help to sell that particular property, but it's also just very good to have my name next to this really nice house being seen 6,000 times. So it's just boosting my brand.
Yeah, you're creating some mind share there.
Mhm.
How about you, Linda? Your Wi-Fi
we do-
connection looks a little stable right now. Get you quick.
We do pretty much the same thing. And what we love to do too is take that material that we created for one property and show our new client what we've done in the past. Show them the videos, email them, do a pre-listing package and send it to them. Show them the beautiful videos that you've done and how you sold this home in X amount of days because of how well it was marketed. Because isn't that what we are? We're marketers. And just to be able to hand them at the table the samples, the book that you created, the brochures, the package at the house that you're handing the client.
Another real quick, simple thing is we all put together a luxury brochure for the property. Take that same luxury brochure, write a letter and include it with your own personal brochure and information and send it to each homeowner and summarize, hey, we got this home sold in 5 days or whatever it may be. We were able to attract a lot of buyers for this property. Do you know anyone else in the neighborhood that might be thinking of selling their home that we may be able to connect with the buyers that we have? And it's an impressive, nice looking, high-end, large brochure versus a little simple postcard that a lot of agents send out.
Yes, Tom.
And I also have created a series of links, and those links are links back to my luxury magazine. There's an online version of even the past editions, so I can go to that particular page where my ad was, capture that link, and then the Matterport 3D virtual tours, and then a link to my videos, and just have a series of like 6 or 7 of each of those ads, videos, 3D tours, and then send it as a pre-listing package and just say, here's some of the marketing we've done for luxury property in the past. And, pretty much all of the ones I would send them are really good looking properties, and it's just good looking stuff. And I think that makes an impression, because I don't think some people aren't used to even seeing the 3D virtual tours. So they're impressed by that, or they're impressed by the videos or the magazine.
Terry, Tom, can I ask you a quick question? Do you go as far as you're taking a luxury listing? What sets me aside from other realtors? I want to have my inspector come in and inspect the home prior to getting a buyer. This way, when we do find that buyer, we've had the home inspected, have your own inspection done. Do you consider doing that?
I do all of that type of thing on a case-by-case basis. So it's depending on what my fears are that can go wrong. And I try to preempt problems in advance. So it could be, if I know that roof is, it's a great house, but that roof is towards the end of its life, then I might do something like that to try to be prepared for it.
To take that a step further, the other thing is the appraisal. Sometimes trying to figure out the value of the home can be challenging because, they may have gold toilets and fixtures in their house. How do you differentiate what really is the value to that? And does one buyer care versus the other? So sometimes the sellers in luxury properties, I find, have in their minds greater value for the things and items that they have in it than it is in reality. So sometimes that conversation can be a little challenging and sensitive when they say, well, I have a brand new Viking or whatever it may be. How much is that really worth?
That's the same thing in non-luxury too.
Yeah, well,
They
exactly.
overvalue it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the question. All right, so next question. I'm going to precursor this with something one of our MCTTs brought up, is that he thought was important to weave into all of our conversation today. And that's something that Brady Sandow says. And if you don't know who Brady Sandow is, he's our director of growth for KW Luxury. And he basically says this. He says that luxury is an experience, is not a price point. So with that being said, what is the difference between luxury and non-luxury listings, and when it comes to marketing costs and just about anything else? Is there a difference? Go ahead, Terry. Look like you got a thought.
You know, and this is a little bit of a generalization, but what I find with the luxury is they are really dependent on you. They don't have time. They expect you just to do everything for them. I find that they don't read as much, like they have to trust you. And if they trust you, they don't read the listing agreements. They don't read anything. A lot of them are high Ds or they're either a high D or a high C, I find. And depending on which one you get, you treat differently. And you have to do more for them in many ways. They expect it. They're used to that level of service that you would find in non-luxury.
What do you, Tom? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to give basically your absolute best customer service because you're hoping that they will in turn give you a good referral to other people that live in the same subdivision. So it's absolutely, the top notch. You don't want to have them calling you because they have a question. I hope that my system's good enough where I've answered their questions so they don't even have to call me and I'm keeping them informed. I also feel that, with my balance of luxury versus my bread and butter price point, I'm willing to do more and spend more on stuff in conjunction with the luxury properties, simply because it spills over. The benefit spills over into the bread and butter price range or just lower price points. So if you have enough of the $1.2 million properties, and then you're on a listing appointment with the guy who has a $600,000 house, and he's looking at you as if he's questioning whether you're capable of selling his beautiful house, just showing a little bit of the luxury helps with the medium price ranges as well. Just it's proof that you're capable of doing it. So I'm willing to pay more for advertising and extra photos and flyers, glossy flyers and things on the luxury, simply because it benefits me in the entire business, including the medium price ranges.
Okay, so man, I've got so many more questions for you, but looking at the time, we're pretty much out of time almost. So what I want to do is, rather than just saying goodbye, I'd like to open up for just a couple seconds and see if anybody else has any questions. Anything that, I do have more questions, but I want to make sure we get to the ones you guys want. So feel free to let us know. Let's see. Nicole says, where do you leave the glossy flyers?
Well, I have them at the house to start with, so that any showings, and I do a non-branded. In some cases, it's non-branded, available so that the buyer's agent can feel comfortable letting the other person grab it. And I also include a detailed feature list, which will usually be 2 full pages, because there's not enough room on an MLS flyer to include all the features of a luxury property, a large property. And so my wife is the one who describes every feature. And we usually have about 1 to 2 full pages as a feature list that everybody gets of all of the goodies inside the property.
Another hint.
Yeah.
I was going to
Go
say,
ahead.
when you hand out those flyers, like Tom just mentioned, that are sitting on the credenza, in the house, hand it to the listing agent. Never hand it. The buyer's agent. Never hand it to the client.
Right.
Never.
Why?
Those sharks will bite your head off.
I do the same thing. For our listings, especially with COVID right now, we have a stand that will have pockets in it, and it has the masks, it has the booties. We ask people to take their shoes off or put the booties on. And I have the brochure, and exactly like Tom said, the brochure is a beautiful, well put together features and benefit sheet as well. It breaks down every feature according to the area of the house, so that when the client's walking through, they can easily look at that. But when they come into the house, I give a minute of an overview of the questions that I know they're going to have, and most of the time the buyer agents don't know. And I just do a quick story of the house, because this is what they want to know. They want to know about the community. They want to know the features and benefits of living seaside or in a golf course community. And I just go over with the dates, how old is the roof, the AC systems, and so forth. but the video tells a story as well. But being at the house, I do hand it to the buyer agent, and mine is branded. It's up to the agent to then hand it to their client, and it's just a respect issue as well.
That is awesome. And that's brilliant. I love the idea of telling the story. And I think that's so important because when it comes to marketing, one of the most important things in marketing is having that story, having some kind of emotional tie to it. And if you can't get some kind of emotional tie to it, the marketing's in a way almost worthless other than creating mind share. So an example is in our area here, we have a lot of baseball. So if you get baseball players that come by. So Babe Ruth used to come through here. So some of the homes he may have rented or stayed in for a while, being able to tell that story will go a long way in cementing that into somebody's mind. Great. One more thing. As far as when you guys are showing homes, what's the difference between showing homes when it comes to luxury and showing homes when it comes to non-luxury? Like, there is a gap there.
I think one of the most important things is just to show up, dress professionally, and be the luxury agent, because you're setting the standard. Now, a lot of times the clients come in flip-flops and t-shirts and they're buying multi-million-dollar homes. That's okay, but you can't dress and act that way. That's the one time I say you don't drop to their level. You don't mirror and match them. I think you need to look like the professional and know all your facts about the property, the neighborhood. They expect you to know this.
Yeah. And you've got to give yourself 15 minutes to turn on all the light switches. Because a lot of these houses, I'm not exaggerating, it takes like 15 minutes to get all the lights on.
Mm-hmm. Is there differences showing like setting your appointments versus a different one? Like you have to make sure that you submit. I don't think it's so much in this market, but do you have to submit to them that your pre-approval letter or your proof of funds ahead of time?
That's a good idea. It really depends. For the most part, I kind of assume that they're coming pre-approved. Sometimes I've had sellers specifically state, I only want pre-approved, and we have to go the extra step.
I mean,
I will
I
tell you-
just figure in that market, people like the pretty houses. So they want to go on a tour like it's a museum.
Right. I think what I really put the time in is when they call for an appointment, I call the agent back and I just ask them, tell me about your buyer. And that's all I have to say. And most of them will go on. I've had several that they had no clue if they were cash or if they were pre-approved. They did not have a consultation. They didn't know their client. So you can get a little more in depth with that if that happens. I'd like to think that in the professional market that we are in, that these agents are qualifying their clients and they wouldn't be wasting their time and yours. But I've rarely had an incident where the buyers coming into the property were not qualified, but it happens. But that's the conversation you have with the agent.
Right.